Hey, Ron. Landon Collins looked like he was doing pretty much everything else the other DBs were. What was key in his recovery? I mean, he only tore that Achilles back in October. What allowed him to get to this point?
Well, I think he worked at it. He worked very well, very hard. He did things that he needed to, and it's good to see him back out on the football field. He came in great shape, so he's ready to roll, and we're excited about the competition we're having.
You see him fitting into that group and that safety group overall. It feels like you have a lot of depth pieces there, a lot of options.
We do. We have a lot of options, a lot of good pieces, and as I said, it's exciting to watch. It's going to be a good competition. Landon's done a lot of good things in the past for this football team. We'll see how he continues to grow and get better.
Ron, Curtis Samuel starts on the PUP list. What was the decision behind that? I mean, obviously didn't pass, but where is kind of he at physically right now?
Well, he had a groin injury obviously in camp and in mini camp, and so we're just bringing him along. We wanted to make sure he's fine, and we'll go from there.
Him not being on the field means more reps for other players. Also, maybe you can't quite see how the offense will look with Samuel out there. What's the sort of give and take of?
We have a background with Curtis, so we're familiar with the thing that he's done, and we know what to expect from him. The big thing will be how he interacts with his teammates around him on the field. That's the thing that you're trying to create right now by having reps outside.
Hi, Ron. I know yesterday you talked a little bit about the stability that Logan Thomas and Jonathan Allen's deals kind of bring. What does it mean for them, like looking long term, to kind of have that stability?
I think that the thing, and hopefully the other players, their teammates see that, we're serious about wanting to keep guys that do things the right way, guys that fit what we do and how we do it. And we want to try and keep as many of our own as possible. Drafting Jonathan where we did, you don't want to see a guy like that move on, especially if he fits, he's the right timer guy. And we got a lot of guys like that we want to try and figure out how we can keep them around.
Hey, Ron, going back to that safety competition that you mentioned, do you see that as they're competing at one spot, or do you kind of see both of those spots as open? And I kind of wonder how you see that playing out.
I see a good competition for the spots. I think I don't know if you noticed, but we rotated a lot of guys in back there, especially with the first bunch. So we'll continue to do that, and I'm going to rely on the coaches and their opinion on what they see and how they think things are unfolding. And the nice thing is we will be able to play preseason games this year. We will be able to get a feel for what our best options are going forward.
It's unfortunate that Cornelius Lucas starts the year on the COVID list. I wonder, is there a timetable that he could be back? And also, while he's out, what does that give you the chance to evaluate Sam Cosmi at right tackle for?
Well, Cornelius being out does give us an opportunity to evaluate Sam. It gives us an opportunity to evaluate a couple other guys. Sadiq is another young man we're going to move over there and give reps to, which we have already. So it's an opportunity for guys to get reps is what it's creating, and for them to show us what they're capable of. And then when based on the rules and all that, we get Cornelius back, we'll start getting him back into the mix as well.
Hey, Ron, when you're looking at the safety competition, to see how guys work together, what are some of the little things that you're going to look for to see how maybe a group separates itself from another group?
Well, consistency of play will be one of them, and not just their play, but how the rest of the guys around them play. One thing that's really important that these guys got to be able to do is communicate. They're kind of like air traffic controllers, and making checks and calls and making sure that the other DBs hear the calls and the linebackers hear the checks, that type of stuff. It's about the communication. So it'll be about the consistency of the play of not just them, but when they're on the field, the guys around them.
And then with Jamin Davis, you seem to like how he was handling the calls and all that in the spring. How does it change now? Are there more things you're going to test him with in that area? How does it change now for him in terms of calling plays and handling that position?
Well, the only difference really as we continue to progress, things will start to ramp up. More so than anything else, and then you'll really get a chance to see, because as things ramp up, you start getting into the preseason games, there's some consequences. Right now there's not a lot of consequences out there, and guys tend to play a little bit better when they don't have to worry about consequences. Now all of a sudden you throw the consequences of games and giving up plays or making plays, it changes some people. And so as we progress through this, the real test will be when we get onto the field playing.
Hey, Ron, with Logan and Jonathan, just how do you want to maintain your culture here? How does keeping those guys help you do that as you go into year two?
Well, I think again, it's what it tells the other players, it tells the other guys. We're trying to find ways to keep as many of our guys around, guys that we believe fit us, that are the right type of guys that fit into the culture that we're trying to create. I think that's important for those guys to understand. We've got solid young men, guys that are solid on the football field, solid in the locker room, and solid in the community, and that's important to us.
And you mentioned earlier on the radio about kind of maturity concerns a little bit. Just
Football team. I want to make sure that we understand that you just don't show up and pick up where you left off. I want to make sure we understand that we got to work our way back to where we were last season, and to be able to play to that ability. That's when I talk about maturity. That's what I'm talking about is understanding how to handle success and how to continue to work to create more success. That's what I talk about when I say maturity. I was happy about it. I really was. There were some things, some little detail things that one of the things that when I circled up the unit, the team out there, I talked about it. Some of the little details that we didn't pay attention to. I had to explain it to some of the young guys in particular so they understand it. There's a specific way that we practice. We try to mimic as close as we can to game situations, which you can never really do. But if you can get it close to it by harping on tempo, harping on playing fast, trying to put stress on them so that they learn how to handle and cope with that, that helps. So to me, it's about making sure we're getting the right message across to the guys in terms of how we practice.
You mentioned retention being a big thing for you. Did any players really stand out with what they were able to recall from the spring and their knowledge of the playbook coming in?
Jamin stood out right away. And again, he's one of the guys that we're counting on to be able to handle these situations, circumstances. It was good to see. It really was. A number of the young guys really did a nice job. That's one of the groups you always worry about, the new guys that come in. I really thought we had a lot of good retention. It's one of those things that when you see the guys knowing where to line up, knowing when the motions happen, or listening and hearing the defensive checks and slides by the defensive line, then you know that those things are becoming second nature. And that's important because that tells you that we're taking the next step.
And I know it's day one, no pads yet, but what are your early impressions of Jarrett Patterson out there?
Of who?
Jarrett Patterson, running back.
I thought he made a really nice cut. We handed the ball up inside. We ran an inside zone, and he was able to work his way back to the backside. He's a little dynamic guy that plays bigger, I think, and I'm excited to see when we do put the pads on to see how that translates. But he's done a really nice job. He's been solid. He's a young man that I talked about in terms of retention. When he was in there, you didn't see any mistakes. You didn't see the quarterback having to get him lined up, and he understood when it was time to shift in motion. So he's doing a solid job for us.
Hey Ron, I saw Cameron Curl out there playing with Landon Collins. I wanted to ask, really, what did you guys see from him, or make you guys think that he might be able to play the free safety spot? And also, I think I saw him playing Buffalo nickel at one point. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry, I talked softly. I said, I believe I saw Cameron Curl playing Buffalo nickel, and also I was curious about the free safety spot. What did you guys see from him to make you guys feel comfortable back there? What do you guys think he could do in that position? Just what do you think of him today?
No, the interesting thing about Cameron is he's got great range. He really does. For a tall, long guy, he's got great range. With that length, it creates even more range. He's got a good nose for the ball, so it shows you he has some of that free safety skill set. That's why we rotated him in there with Colin a couple of times, because there's some things that are intriguing. We brought him down and used him as a Buffalo nickel. Remember, that's what he was playing last year. He was a big part of that for us. And with that combination of safeties, throwing Clayton in the mix, those three guys give you some guys that have some skill sets, some abilities. Bobby Briggs he's a center fielder, he's a ball hawk. And he was on the defense last year that led the league in takeaways, and he was a part of that. Landon's a physical guy that can get downhill, and on the opposite side, you put Cameron in a position that he played last year for us to play as well. Really what you have is you have two Buffaloes. Okay, when you have Cameron and Landon on the field at the same time. There are some things that Jack's going to be able to do with the defense, some things in terms of personnel groups and matchups. I think our guys give us options that can be exciting. So I'm excited about that group of safeties we have right now.
And then this is asking about just two different rookies, but I saw Benjamin St. Jude's playing outside, which then moved Kendall Fuller into some of the slot position. I know you've talked about versatility being one of the things that you guys look for, being able to move guys around. How do you guys think he performed in the spring practices to kind of give you the impression he could move out there and kind of kick Kendall back into the slot? And then also Samuel Cosme, he was starting at right tackle. What did you think of his day today?
Okay. Well, I think Ben is a guy that's got tremendous skill set. He's long. He reminds me a little bit of Charles Tillman. You know, I was able to coach him back in the day, and I thought, you know, Charles was the kind of guy that, you know, that as he grew more and more in the defense, you could see his skill set start to shine, and that's what you see with Ben. When you look at Cosme, you see a stout physical player who's already gets it. He understands how to practice. There are some little details that when I talked about young guys having learned, he's one of those guys. But his skill set tells you he can play the right side, but he also know he can play the left, and he can go inside and play guard. So there's some position flex with him, but he's got a chance. He really does. He's got a chance to fight for a starting position.
Hey there, Ron. The fans obviously back this year, which is a great thing to have, and we saw a lot of the players interacting with them from afar. What did you notice about the energy that they bring out there for these guys?
It's really cool. It really was. I mean, I love the fact that they're back out there. You know, they're a knowledgeable bunch. They knew when to cheer. And that's usually when the offense does something, and so the defensive guys get excited because they're cheering for the offense, and that you can tell that creates a little energy, and you can hear it, you can feel it. It's something special. It really is, and we really did miss our fans down the stretch last year. It would have been good to have them, you know, as we got into the playoffs. That would have been cool, but it's nice. I like what we have around here. You know, I thought the field was really good. So a lot of positive things about being here in Richmond.
I know that you obviously have a military background. How important was it for these guys to be able to come out this morning and be out here and be recognized?
You know, it's very important because, again, you know, these are folks that commit and sacrifice to us, and they should know that we most certainly do truly appreciate them, and it was good that we were able to do something for them.